a whole bunch of other models, but what they realized was fuel cell, in terms of infrastructure-wise, was going to be way better than electric. You could fill it up quicker. The infrastructure is already ready. They knew that our electrical grid wasn't ready.
Hi, I'm Seiji.
Hi, I'm Bard.
And together we are the Seiji Bards. A brief history of cars. After about 6,000 years of human existence, mankind was able to change their personal mode of travel from animal to the automobile. In the United States, car ownership exploded, and soon the horse-drawn carriage was gone. In other countries like Egypt, the camel continues to be a primary source of transport. Just as in India, humans still carry other humans around. But the point is, the era of horse, camel, elephant, slave, and peasant-drawn carriage was over. Electric cars were invented early on, but mostly remained a novelty until hybrid and electric cars became more prevalent about 25 years ago. Suddenly, after we realized that we were going to survive Y2K, humankind started to worry about the environment. Leading influencers like John Kerry, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Bill Gates, Leonardo DiCaprio, as well as autistic children like Greta Thunberg, and impetuous royalty like Prince Henry, flew all around on chartered planes like the Lolita Express while leading the charge against climate change. The tried and true ICE auto was becoming just an option alongside hybrid cars which married battery and electric technology and pure electric vehicles. Soon, celebrities were able to flaunt their environmental street cred by driving around in second-generation Prii, which started appearing everywhere as George Bush launched a war to destabilize the Middle East and give his Texan friends control of Iraq's oil. They were ugly and shaped like an egg, but America was in love with the Prius. Led by climate championing pioneers like Bill and Hillary, lots of money was donated to Clinton Global Initiatives for Slick Willie's motivational talks on women's rights, and businessmen were soon able to make fire sale deals with Russian and African oligarchs for mineral rights that one day could be used by today's climate activists. A little bit of information on stats on cars right now. We'll get into that in a moment. Here's some information on cars. Even though we hear a lot about electric cars, people are still buying internal combustion engine cars for a number of reasons. One reason is the price difference.
Okay, some people are just, let's just be honest, some people just don't want to drive hybrid cars. Or electric cars. They're worried about where are we going to charge it. Actually, there was an article several months ago that I saw where people were actually returning their electric cars because they were returning them to the dealer because they couldn't deal with the charging and the range. It wasn't working out for them. I think a lot of these people, from what the article was saying, was something on MSN. From what the article was saying, these people lived in apartments. They didn't have a ready to go charging network. It was people who have charging capacity at home. They can go home, plug it in, overnight it's charged, and they go the next day. So that was one of the reasons why people were against it.
Well, the average price difference between an ICE car, internal combustion engine car, and an electric car is still about $18,000.
Is it after rebates? Still after rebates?
That might be before rebates, but a lot of people don't need the rebates or the tax credits because they don't make enough.
Interesting. Do you know how much they would have to make, or they don't make enough to own the car? Is that what you're saying?
No, you have to make enough money to qualify for that $7,500 back. So
how much money do you have to make?
Well, it's not that. It's like you have to factor in how many kids they have. But if you, for example, in our first episode, we were talking about how much the average black male makes in America. And that is about $44,000. But if you have a family, so you're supporting a wife and let's say 2 kids, and let's say she's making $35,000, you're probably not paying $7,500 in tax when you factor in the renter's credit or home credits and the other things. So it's not useful.
Okay, so it's not working for everyone. So
Correct.
all right, I know some people who have trucks, I've heard that they prefer, I know for a fact, electric's not ready to go for commercial applications. Semi-trucks, big box trucks, it's not ready to go because the charging times and the infrastructure for charging is not there yet. So I don't know if we're going to get into it now, but one of the preferred systems for that is either ICE or the fuel cell, because fuel cell is just like fueling up a diesel truck. It's the same amount of time.
Yeah. And well, the other thing is right now, the average price of a ICE car sold in the US as of July was about $49,000. The average electric car is about $66,000.
Okay, so a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think electric also, it also speaks to a certain class. The way, I know we didn't plan on talking about this, but here's an interesting thing to note. The way Tesla brought this about was actually genius when you think about it. They used rich people, wealthier people, to help market their cars. So the first model they came out with was the luxury car, the S model,
Yes.
right? And then they came out with the SUV, which was fancy, had the gull wing doors. Whenever you have doctors, lawyers, and dentists and the who's who driving these cars, other people want to be like them. And it was like a self-propagating media market machine. They created a cult. And in doing so, they just created insane demand for their cars. So Tesla's really, being the genesis of quality mass-produced electric cars with reasonable range. The Nissan Leaf was number one, but quality electric cars with decent range, they created a status around electric cars. So that's what's sort of driving the market now. So I think, but when it comes to pickup trucks, they didn't have a pickup truck that was in the class of, say, an F-150 or a Silverado that was all decked out with the leather and everything. So,
And it's a different demographic.
totally different demographic, right?
So,
Yeah, speak to it. What do you think about the demographic when it comes to pickups?
well, I think that
versus
when you
Tesla?
get a lot of the men who buy trucks but aren't actually using them for work, they're getting them to look cool, and an electric truck doesn't seem quite as cool.
To them.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem as brawny.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I would say the first really good attempt at making a brawny, somewhat looking truck is Ford's F1 Lightning.
Yes.
That looks like a traditional, conventional pickup truck. It doesn't, from what I'm seeing in real world testing environments, it doesn't do the exact same amount of work. But for people who are casual with their pickup truck use, maybe jet skis, things like that, trip to the
Correct.
beach, it serves a purpose. It looks manly. I would say we saw a couple of Rivians on the way here, and the Rivians look great to me. I think it fills a mid-sized sector. So it's more of your outdoorsman, your mountain biker, your kayaker,
Yes.
that type. So, I mean, it's
Rivian
getting
is a
there.
beautiful truck.
It's beautiful,
very
yeah.
beautiful.
And I think it satisfies my need for a mid-size. Like, I like the Tacoma. That's my preferred model for a mid-size. And I think the Rivian does a really good job of filling that market.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's move on. So let's talk about. We're going to get into. We're going to kind of juxtaposition electric versus fuel cell. I wasn't really aware of this until three big CEOs started to voice their concerns. Number one, we've got the CEO of Toyota. And I really, really respect Toyota. Anything they say, I mean, I think their R&D has got to be some of the greatest in the market, right?
Yep.
They're number one. They're number one for a reason, and you have to listen to them. Toyota, with the
Mirai.
with the Mirai, they have a fuel cell Mirai, but they're also coming out with, well, besides the fuel cell, they're coming out with a whole bunch of other models. But what they realized was fuel cell, in terms of infrastructure-wise, was going to be way better than electric. You could fill it up quicker. The infrastructure is already ready. They knew that our electrical grid wasn't ready. I was actually listening to a clip today. It was a senator, forgot his name. They were talking about how they're being grilled, and they were saying how the power grid is not ready despite the 2030 deadlines. It's not ready.
Well, what we're basically calling for is such a rapid transformation in what Americans buy and the ability to power those vehicles that it's impossible. It's not possible, despite what Mike Buttigieg might say, our Secretary of Transportation. The electric grid is not up to par, especially if you're trying to get rid of coal burning facilities or coal power plants and nuclear power plants at the same time. And
it's not going to work.
It's not going to.
It's too ambitious. And they were saying that. Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
Well, California is supposed to get rid of the sale of internal combustion engine vehicles by 2035.
2035. I just don't think it's going to work. I think we have a situation where they're not going to upgrade the power grid. On top of that, they have the 2035 deadline. If everyone were to get an electric car by then, it still wouldn't be enough power. And in addition, they said the temperature, let me see if I can remember the number, I don't want to misquote, 0.0002 degrees cooler if the entire planet went electric. So it's not really, a lot of people are saying this may not even really be about global warming or climate change. They're saying that this dramatic shift may not be for that, but there are some benefits to electric.
There absolutely are.
And I will mention, I think just offhand, clear skies, respiratory illnesses, like with internal combustion engines, produce carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is a poison for humans. It's toxic. And I honestly believe a lot of lung cancer cases are related to air pollution as well as other respiratory illnesses like.
But I think, Bard, when they're talking about that, they're actually kind of hiding the emissions, and not emissions, but the pollution aspects of electric technology. I think you front end the pollution because it's before it's actually put into a vehicle,
right?
And then it's on the back end after you're trying to scrap a vehicle that doesn't have any resale value.
And here's the thing, though. Let me kind of push back against that. I don't mind so much that the pollution's being centered in one place, because I think if let's say it's just at the coal plant, right? Coal burning plant facility, power plant. They can at least send those emissions into water and then dump that water, or filter it out and then take that soot somewhere else. But as it stands, here we are, we've got cars driving by. Those cars are sending those gases directly into the air, and we're breathing in those gases now. So I think in terms of the human cost, we could save a lot of lives by going electric or even fuel cell. I prefer fuel cell, however, and I'll talk about jobs. Go ahead.
Well, going back to what you were saying, and those of you who are watching will know that Toyota, despite making excellent cars, has never stepped in and made a fully electric mass market vehicle as of now. And it's for a reason, because they have said multiple times, or at least their leadership has said, we're not on that bandwagon because we don't find that it's viable.
And I agree. I do think electric is cool.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it sounds cool. One's passing us right now. I think it sounds cool. The torque is insane. Have you been in a Tesla 100D Plaid?
I have not.
I've been in a Plaid. A family member of mine he has two brand new Plaids. And those things are faster than exotic cars. They're faster than Lamborghinis, Ferraris. They're the fastest cars on the road, yet they're not pumping harmful gases in the air and causing us lung cancer. So I think they're cool, but we just don't have the infrastructure. I think it'd be good for a certain segment of the population to probably have it, but I think the better mix would be that we have a mix of fuel cell, which emits water, and a mix of electric for people who want that. Power grid, keeping the power grid in mind, but I think hydrogen fuel cells should be the majority. I think it should be 99% of what we have, and I think maybe for just a few people who have solar panels or who have some sort of way to generate power, I think electric would be ideal if they want to go that route. But I do not believe with what we have right now in terms of legislation, in terms of the trajectory of what they want for 2035, it's not going to go anywhere. It's dead in the water. But let me talk really quickly about. I was going to talk about some of the benefits, and actually forgot another one of the benefits. But oh yeah, here's what I was going to say. In terms of job loss, electric cars have about a third of the parts. Mm-hmm. They have 1/3 the parts of they use I forgot how many parts are in an ICE engine, but electric cars use way less. So what I think VW, the CEO of VW, was saying that the manufacturing sector is going to get hit hard. A lot of people are going to get sent home. They're not going to have work.
Yeah.
With fuel cell, I don't know the exact numbers on that, but the fuel cell engines sort of look kind of like internal combustion engines, and they may or may not have more parts than an electric. So I think the fuel cell might be advantageous in keeping jobs, easier scalability in terms of infrastructure. I was telling you earlier, we have in Buena Park, Placentia, there's a Chevron that I've been to, where they have fuel cell. People fill up. You see the Toyota Mirai, they're filling up. Mm-hmm. So I think we are ready for fuel cell. I think we can make that change literally in honestly, all you would have to do is at all of the gas pumps, all of the gas stations, you swap out, put the fuel cells in there, and I think we're good, because it's the same fill-up time. I think they use the same, those big machines, they may do hydrolysis on the spot, I'm not sure. And if that's the case, it's just water and hydrolysis, and they're producing the hydrogen right away, which is great. Then you don't need as much storage. But I think we're ready to go on fuel cell, and I think 2035 is completely doable. For fuel cell, yeah. I think it's completely doable because we have the infrastructure in place. As it stands right now, we have a big.
Who are the companies that are looking into or doing the fuel cells? Is it BMW and
Toyota, and Renault.
Oh, okay.
Renault. So they're doing it right now. They're the ones who are on board. Toyota was leading the charge. I believe Renault was second, and then BMW jumped on board. It just makes sense when you look at, especially when you're looking at commercial applications.
Yeah.
When you're looking at commercial applications, fuel cell makes so much sense, because time is money with semi-trucks. Time is money with box trucks. You need that fuel right away. So I think that's the key.
But there are definitely some benefits with electric vehicles, and we're going to talk about those in a second.
Okay, we'll be right back. All right, guys, time for our top 10 reasons to buy an electric car.
Okay.
All right, what's number one?
Number one.
You do number one?
Instant torque.
Can't beat that.
Bart was talking about that Tesla Plaid S.
And let me tell you about it really quickly. That thing went from about 60 to 120. I was looking at the dash in about 3 or 4 seconds. Wow. It was insane. It was insane. Threw me back in the seat. You could feel yourself being pushed back. You felt the G-forces. Performance-wise, I think it's unparalleled. I don't think fuel cell can produce that type of instant torque. So for racing applications and for just performance, I think electric, or maybe an electric hybrid fuel cell, blah blah blah. I think that would be good for your high power, your Lamborghinis, your Teslas of the future, etc.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, everyone likes accelerating off the line, especially when you can recharge at home. So
exactly, free fuel.
You might be burning your rubber and causing a different environmental issue, but
that's true. They have such amazing grip. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But that I've never really seen an electric car really peel out and lose traction. It's more of an internal combustion car issue. Anyway, let's go to number 2.
Great. Number 2, less maintenance.
All right, so you have less maintenance.
Why do we have less maintenance?
Less parts.
Less parts.
And the electric motor is it's a very simple design.
Yep.
You really can't go wrong. I mean, I would say that would probably be one of the strongest selling points of an electric car. No more oil changes, guys. No more transmission fluid to worry about. It's all right there. So I would say that's a big selling point.
Yep.
All right, number 3, you don't have to visit a gas station, but enjoy hanging out in charging lines in areas for about 1.5 hours a day. Well, for people who don't do their math before they buy the car, yes, that's true. For people like Mike, who we know, they charge at home.
They charge at home, but I'll tell you, when you get stuck in that line, you're gonna not feel too happy. I had a friend who rented a Tesla Y from a Hertz place, and they gave it to him with 17% charge. So as soon as he came over, we had to take it over to a supercharger. We were there for about 40 minutes. Then we drove it up the hill, and then we plugged it in for 5 hours and got about 5% charge on a 110
Wow.
outlet.
Wow.
Then we came back down. Fortunately, because of the regenerative braking, it picked up another 5%. Then we went back to the supercharger and charged up for another 50 minutes.
You know, that sounds fun.
If you're renting one of these, just know you're gonna lose a bunch of time on charging.
I hope you got a lot of time to charge. All right, let's go to number 5.
Number 5, they are often safer. One of the reasons they are safer is because they have a very strong cage or platform to protect the batteries.
Okay, so it adds rigidity.
It adds rigidity.
And then the weight. They're heavy.
You're not going to flip one very easily.
No, that's why they're such great handlers. So I guess that sort of handling, I guess that's probably another reason we don't have it on the list, but that low center of gravity gives you great handling, and you're probably gonna not spin out on a freeway.
Correct.
If you try to overcorrect, you'll probably be a lot safer with maneuvers.
Yep.
All right, let's go to the next one. I think
Number 6.
Yeah, let's go to number 6. Your brakes last longer.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Your brakes last longer because of the regenerative braking. So it will automatically slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so if you're driving one and you take your foot off of the accelerator, it will actually slow down. So you don't need your brakes quite as much.
Okay, so is that just the electric motor doing that? Is that some sort of mechanism, or is that the brakes? That's not the brakes.
It's not the brakes.
It's the motor. It's the motor itself. Okay, cool.
Motor itself.
So yeah, longer brakes. All right, cool. Number 7.
State incentives.
That always helps.
You get state incentives, and that's tied to number 8, which is federal incentives. So right now, because of how much different individual states as well as the federal government is pushing the electric cars, there are some really good tax benefits. If you are making enough money and you want to keep your money or benefit from it more directly, then definitely look into an electric vehicle.
Okay, there it is, state incentives. And number 8, federal tax credits as well. Now I know with federal tax credits, I think if the car manufacturers sold X amount of cars, they no longer get access to those credits. Is that correct? Is that what?
I think that they changed some of that with the Affordable Care, not Affordable Care Act, but the Inflation Reduction Act.
Oh.
So then a lot of cars that didn't qualify in the past now qualify again. So as of, I think, January 1, 2023, a lot of cars like Tesla was out of the $7,500 federal tax credit, but
They're back in now?
They're back in now.
So that's going to stimulate some sales. Okay, excellent.
And also, because of all of the increase in competition, you have lower prices.
That's right. That's
So-
that's also great. So yeah, I would say that's a great reason to get one. All right, let's move on.
Number 9. You can feel guilt-free while you're ruining the environment. I know this is not something Bard agrees with, but I'm not really. I don't really believe in electric cars in terms of saving the environment. I think they might be fun. I think they might save your brakes. But are they better for the environment? I think it's very debatable.
I think it's the lesser of the two evils.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's the lesser of the two evils. I think that You get to save lives, and that waste can be put somewhere else. All right, let's go to the last one. This one, number 10, you will get instant environmental street credibility. Yeah. You get lots of pats on the back.
Good job for saving the environment.
A lot of attaboys. All right, guys, that's been our top 10. We will see you in the next segment.
Okay, guys, we're here, Seiji and Bard, to give you your top 10 reasons not to go electric.
Right. I know Seiji's really excited about this. All right, number 1, limited driving range. That's one of my greatest fears, honestly. Like, I get anxiety. I don't even own one, and I get anxiety thinking about it.
Let me tell you, my cousin just bought a Tesla Model 3 in November. When the weather's colder, because she lives up in Washington State, she might get about 160, 180 miles of range.
So it goes down.
It goes down significantly because the car is, I think, 235 or 240 miles.
Bet you they didn't tell you about that when you bought it.
Well, what should be a 3-hour trip suddenly becomes a 4.5-hour trip or 4-hour trip because you're waiting to recharge.
That's insane. All right, let's move on. Number 2.
Number 2, long charging times if you are on a road trip.
That's the part that really sucks about electric cars. See, that's despite the cold weather. The cold weather is one thing. That's just your day-to-day. If you're on a road trip, now if you don't have access to a supercharger, God forbid, you're done. Well, you're screwed. You might as well spend the night.
If you want to see something
get a hotel.
Not too fun, on the way back from Las Vegas to Southern California, you can see all of the Teslas and electric cars waiting for the superchargers. And some of those guys are there for hours.
You know, really quick, there was a really funny joke. Well, it was some guys online, when gas prices were really, really high, I don't know if you guys remember that, when gas prices were crazy high in the country. All these Tesla, these guys who own Teslas, they would pull up in gas stations and start laughing at people.
Yeah. That is kind of funny.
It is kind of funny. But on the way back from Vegas, it's our turn to laugh, honk and wave. Hey!
Yep. Now it's their turn.
Now it's our turn. Yeah. See you in a couple hours. All right, let's go on. Number 3. You don't have solar panels on your home.
If you don't have solar panels on your home, then you're going to have to figure out a way to charge your vehicle. And this is something that is very hard for those of us who live in condos, apartments, basically in really densely populated metropolitan areas. It becomes very difficult to figure out how to charge your vehicle.
Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, a lot of people were returning their electric cars because they couldn't maintain that sort of schedule because they didn't know where to charge them. All right, let's move on. Number 4.
They are more expensive. So basically, when you start or you get out to buy your vehicle, you're paying a lot more. On average, $18,000 more for an electric vehicle versus a good old-fashioned internal combustion engine.
So you're paying more. So there are some definite trade-offs. Let's go to number 5. Number 5, limited options. That's true. You don't have as many options. But we're getting there. We're almost there.
It's a lot better than it was a couple of years ago.
It's a lot better. If you want an SUV, if you want a small SUV, what are your options? Model Y.
Yeah.
And a Hyundai Kona.
And that's way smaller.
And that's really tiny, yeah. And outside of that, I don't think there is anything else.
I don't think so.
In small SUVs. Toyota doesn't have one out yet.
Is it Niro all electric?
Kia Niro might be one too, but it's like, I think it's the sister to the Kona.
Well.
So those are your options. Model Y, Kona. So you don't have a lot of options. And what's interesting is Toyota RAV4 years ago led the segment in sales because of, it was the #1 selling, the small SUV market because of women. Women were driving that segment. And so I don't really think, well, funny enough, right now, the #1 selling EV is the Tesla Model Y. Up 47%, I think it is.
Wow.
Don't quote me on that. It's up big time. And women, of course, drove that segment with internal combustion engines, and I believe they're driving it again. I don't have any evidence on that, but it just makes sense that they would continue to drive that segment.
Yep.
If you wanted to, let's move on.
Yeah, number 6, resale value.
Woo! I don't know anything about that, but tell me about it. Our Teslas were doing pretty good on resale, but no?
It's resale value on older electric vehicles is very bad. I don't know.
Battery life? Because of batteries?
Well, the batteries, no one knows what's going to happen with them. A lot of them have depleted range. But there is a very bad secondary market for free electric vehicles.
For resales? It sounds grim. I mean, and then to buy a battery, that would, obviously that would change with the aftermarket if people could make batteries for it. But as for now, yeah, you're right. It's terrible. Because I remember I was looking into a Nissan Leaf. I was doing some research on it. And there were people putting a different battery in it to get more range. But you could get that Leaf for like $3,000, $4,000. It was dirt cheap.
Just to give you guys an idea, there's a pretty famous story about a person who had owned a Tesla Model S, and his battery range was depleted significantly. And when he went in to get a new battery, the bill was coming to $20,000. So he decided to blow it up for YouTube views. And
he's probably making his money off of that.
He made his money back that way.
Awesome. All right, let's move on. Number 7, rare earth mineral mining is really bad for the environment. Yes, definitely, 100%.
It's really bad for the environment, and it typically takes places in countries where they have less than good human rights.
Less than good.
Yeah. So when you look at some of the places, for example, in Africa and Congo where cobalt is mined, or the lithium mines, or I think that are in maybe China and Chile.
Lithium's big in somewhere in South America now. Is number 1 for lithium. I want to say it's where they have some salt flats.
Yeah, but it ends up polluting a lot of the water sources.
Yeah, it's not a good idea. So they're going to start making electric batteries out of some other stuff now, some salts or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Number 8.
Battery life may not be very good.
That's brand new. This isn't even like what we just touched on with the used car market. We're just talking about from the beginning.
Yeah.
Just from the beginning. It's not really great. On average, it's about 250 miles of range. And don't let it be winter up north.
Yeah,
you're not gonna get it, even that.
That's a valid point. In cooler climates, this is not a viable option.
It really isn't a viable option. It's more of a, that's probably why they sell so many in California, because it just makes sense. This is where they sell them all. So the majority, I believe the majority of Teslas are here, from what I understand. All right, let's move on. It's probably because of the gas prices. All right, number 9, limited options for repair facilities. That's the truth. If it breaks, but they don't break often. You don't really see broken down. The only thing you're more likely to catch on fire though.
Yes.
A ton of them catch on fire. I think that's the main concern. And they'll keep on burning
for a while.
And they can't put them out.
No.
They have to let it burn to the ground. So So I would say, and there's no repairing that.
No.
That's probably why there aren't any repair facilities, because they know that's the only way it's going to break.
Well, no, you have to have, I mean, there aren't many people who are certified in electric car repair yet, and that's definitely changing, but you have to have someone who has mechanical skills combined with an electrician, which you have to pay a premium for.
Yeah, if it breaks. And when electric cars do break, how do they break? What breaks? I don't even know. Well, because they're pretty reliable.
They're very reliable, but this also feeds back into number 6, which is resale value. The resale value is impacted because you don't have repair facilities. So then if I can't get my vehicle repaired as a secondary or second owner or third owner, well, the car doesn't have that much value to me.
That is true. It's sort of a risk. And number 10.
Number 10, damage due to the weight. So
damage what? What gets damaged?
The roads. Roads actually get damaged because there's a lot more weight on them.
That's where all these potholes are coming from in San Diego?
Well, what it means is that there are taxes that are going to be coming down and levied on electric car owners.
Yeah, I could see that, because cities got to fix those roads. That means they're going to have to fix the roads more regularly.
Because they're not getting the money from the gas taxes.
Makes sense. All right, guys. Top 10 reasons to avoid buying an electric car for now. All right, guys, we're back. I don't know if you saw the news, but Steph Curry, for some reason, just has to be great. He just has to be great. Just found out he won a golf tournament.
It's incredible. Or to be talented in, I mean, he's the best shooter there probably has ever been in basketball. I mean, I know that there's Jerry West fans and Pistol Pete Maravich fans that are probably going to
disagree with that,
but he's the greatest shooter that we've had in the last 30 years probably. And to be not only an amazing shooter and champion in the NBA, but to take over and be amazing in another sport, that's unreal.
It's incredible. And we were actually talking about this early. We were talking about there were some other crossover artists. Bo Jackson, I know he went to baseball. We've got Michael Jordan, who also did he go to baseball for a little bit?
Michael Jordan played baseball in the minor leagues.
He played in the minors, and then
Chicago.
He started
White
playing
Sox.
golf for a little bit too. I don't know if he won any golf tournaments.
Golfer.
He's an excellent golfer. So I think, and then who were some others? There were some other crossovers. Dan Marino, Miami Dolphins.
And he was drafted by the Kansas City Royals. You had John Elway, who played for 1 year in the Yankees minor league system.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he hit 351, I think, or no, 328.
Not bad.
He was
not bad.
He was pretty good.
Not bad. I think what we were talking about though, we were talking about just how these guys. It's not only that they're good at basketball or the main sport that they play. It's just that they just seem to win in life, and they have that thing. There's this thing that they have that it's a common denominator no matter what sport they're in, whether it's in football, whether it's in baseball, whether it's in basketball. We named Marino, football player, Steph Curry, basketball player,
Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders.
It doesn't matter what they're in. These guys, it's control, it's discipline, it's grit, it's just a desire to win.
Yeah, it's dedication is what it comes down to, just pure dedication.
And it kind of speaks to the fact that if you spend enough time, I remember you were saying something about, who was it, Jordan, or someone who would shoot how many threes or free throws or whatever?
You shoot like 1,000 times a day, 1,000 shots a day. And when you're looking at this, Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers talks about how in order for you to have mastery over some skill or subject, you need about 10,000 hours. That's according to, I don't know how he figured that out, but when he looks at Mozart.
It sounds like a safe number, to be honest.
10,000 hours. So then what we're talking about
sounds like a safe number.
For Steph Curry to be amazing in the NBA, but also in golf, it means that you're spending pretty close to that amount of time to practice. And what's amazing with these guys is that you have an amazing set of physical gifts, but you're taking that and combining that with discipline to continue to hone that God-given talent to be able to do something with it.
I think the real talent with athletes doesn't necessarily start with their physicality. I don't think it starts with their bodies. I think the real talent starts with who they are, their discipline. I think it's all about the discipline. I really do think anyone could be an athlete if you have the discipline to do the 10,000 hours and if you practice. They say practice makes perfect, right? They don't say practice makes perfect for people who were born athletes. It's practice makes perfect, period. And I think if you get put early on enough in a sport and you practice and you practice and you know the game, I think you could become like one of these, like in the league. You could be in the league with these guys.
The thing is, Bart, it's not only athletes that we're talking about. You also have people like Carl Icahn. He's a famed corporate raider from the 1980s. He's still active. I think he's in his late 80s or early 90s. But he dropped out of medical school at Princeton University after his second year. So for all of those you don't know, medical school is 4 years long, and the first 2 years are the most miserable parts of it, because years 3 and 4 you get into the clinicals, which is what you've been working for at that point probably at least 6 years.
Yeah.
On the low end.
Right. Yeah, I think segueing into the CEOs, and they also, one of the things that we've noticed is that these people also share that common denominator with the athletes.
Yeah.
Like, and then we've also noted how certain athletes, like Jordan, for example, he's now a billionaire. He's a business owner.
Yep.
Inked a deal with Nike, produces Jordan, and they're not only rabid in their sport, but they're just in life. They just want to win. They have that grit and that determination, and I think it translates well to business. One of the people I can think of when it comes to business is Steve Jobs. Yeah. Jobs is highly celebrated for what he did with Apple, with Macintosh initially, and then Apple.
Then he went over to Pixar.
He went to Pixar. I didn't even really know about that. I remember little details about Pixar, but I mean, he was a master at gathering talent. I heard that he couldn't code. I heard that he couldn't code. I heard that wasn't a part of his skill set. I heard that wasn't a part of his skill set. But what he was able to do was manage, and he was able to push people to their limits, and he was able to find talent. And I think that's a skill in and of itself. That's a really valuable skill that CEOs have. You mentioned Carl Icahn. Then we have, look at some of the, oh, he's obviously an investor. But you mentioned we have Hershey's Chocolate, failed 2 times, then kicked it up. Also reminds me of Formula 409. And really, to be honest, any successful CEO, any company, you guys know maybe the story of Formula 409, the cleaner. I think they asked the person who came up with it, why'd you call it 409? And he said, well, I failed 408 times.
Wow. I didn't know that story.
You know that story? So no. It speaks to, it's the same common denominator: grit, determination, just an attitude of I can do this, to be able to work. They say in business, one of the toughest things to do is to be able to work without pay for an extended amount of time. We're so acculturated to working, getting paid every 2 weeks or every week or even every day, depending on your job. People aren't really accustomed to working a year, 2, 3 years without pay. Well, it's because that's what a lot of these guys do.
And what they say is they don't view failure the same way as the general population. They look at it as a challenge. Some of them will kick it into high gear. In fact, the great majority of these guys take that failure as a challenge, and then they knock it, they go into overdrive.
I really do think they love the competition. I was talking to someone the other day about billionaires and how billionaires, I was like, why do they keep doing things to make more money? They already have it made. And we realized, after we talked about it for a while, we realized it's about competition.
Yeah.
It's about seeing who can be the best billionaire now.
Yeah.
Because they know there's a billionaire club. So it is about competition is their fuel. It's their motivating force. It's their drive.
Some see failure as a stop sign. Others see it as a sign that says, increase your speed.
Exactly.
That's what happens.
They really turned up. Instead of cowering away and stopping, think about it with Formula 409, 408 experiments. And I'm not even sure how long each experiment took to do. But imagine failing that many times, just holding on and knowing that you'll eventually get it. And I think that's
only failure if you don't learn something from it, right?
Exactly.
As long as you take notes and you go on, you're in good shape.
So they learned that it didn't work 408 times. Let's see. All right. So anything else on this?
No.
All right. So we're going to move into our next section.
Which is actually, we're going to talk about a couple of different quotes. Rocky Balboa is a fictional character, a fictional boxer, but he did have some wise motivational quotes on perseverance. One of them was, it's not how hard you get hit, it's how hard you can hit back. Another one was, every champion was once a contender who refused to give up.
There it is. And I think that's the spirit. You know what, it's interesting that a writer actually wrote that for a physical character, because a writer, the people who are typically writing a script for, say, a big movie like that, and I think it was Sylvester Stallone who wrote that movie. These people, he had him writing Rocky, he wrote all the Rockies, right?
Yeah.
He has that spirit in him. So when he wrote that line, he's talking about himself and people like him and people who understand him. These are the people who these are the people who have this belief. I think it was Steve Jobs that said, you have to be crazy enough to think that to whatever you're doing is going to change the world.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, maybe some might call it narcissism, right? Hey, most CEOs are narcissists, right?
Yep.
I know we look at narcissism in a bad way, but sometimes it's that narcissism that drives economies. It drives us forward. I mean, yeah, it's got to be checked. It's got to be tempered sometimes, but it is the fuel.
Well, here's another thing. F. Scott Fitzgerald once said, never confuse a single defeat with a final defeat.
Sounds good.
Never confuse a single defeat with a final defeat.
There it is. All right, are we ready to move into the Daily Stupid?
Let's go over one more quote.
Okay, one more quote.
Thomas Edison said, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration."
Nice.
So,
Formula
there you go.
Formula 409.
409 and light bulb, inventor of the light bulb,
Inventor of the light bulb.
basically, don't give up. Work hard and you'll end up somewhere good.
All right, I like it. All right, guys, we'll be right back with the Daily Stupid.
How dare you!
You guys may know the story about Carly Russell. Carly Russell is a woman who stopped to pick up a toddler who was walking at night by themselves and wearing their Pampers and a white t-shirt, according to her story. But the problem is when the police started to review the tape, there was no toddler in Pampers and a white t-shirt on the tape where Carly Russell stopped. Carly Russell disappeared for 2 days, and people are already calling her the next Jessie or Juicy Smollett or Smollett. So Carly Russell is going to get the Daily Stupid because why would you lie? Why would you lie about something like that? You know, we're going to find out pretty soon what it is. My feeling is, let me tell you what my feeling is. I think this is either mental illness. I think she's got a little bit of what that captain of the Titan had, or Carly Russell, whatever Jessie Smollett has, she has that same disease. Or it could be that she was, maybe, I don't know what her social situation is. Maybe she's married, maybe she's got a boyfriend. Maybe she was stealing away for 2 days. Women have done some pretty interesting things.
Bart, I only have one question for you though.
What's that?
Did Kamala Harris come out in support of her?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure she did though, because believe all women. Remember, guys, believe all women. I'm just gonna say that. Believe all women. Don't hate on the women, Seiji. We gotta believe them all. So anyway, that's my Daily Stupid. What do you got?
For my Daily Stupid, I have the story about Alex Murdaugh. Now there's a bunch of selfies of him in prison with his iPad where he doesn't have a shirt on. And for those of you who don't know, Alex Murdaugh is the...
Is he on Instagram?
He's a former highly esteemed prosecutor and lawyer from South Carolina who murdered his wife and his younger son, as well as a maid a couple of years ago. And
you know, them all out.
He's in prison, but
nice guy.
He's still able to
get online
and share selfies with the world and somehow, and
online poker, you know. So who's getting
Call of Duty?
Call of Duty. I wonder if he's using the same weapon. Anyway, that's probably a little. Well, anyway. Well, that is pretty stupid that he's allowed. So the stupid part that he's allowed to do that?
It's stupid that he has access to an iPad because prison's supposed to be miserable. I mean, and it's no wonder that countries around the world look at us and laugh when our prisoners have, Wi-Fi connections and iPads that they're given, and all of these other things. It's absolutely ridiculous.
You're gonna find this crazy. I watch these online dating shows. I won't mention any. Not going to give them any credit. I have seen guys call in from prison on video camera. So they've got the Wi-Fi, they've got the bandwidth, and they're calling in to talk because maybe they're going to get out in a year, and they're trying to line up some dates by the time to get out. So anyway, I guess the joke's on this. The joke's on us, right?
The joke's on society.
Yep. All right, guys, are you done?
Government paid for iPads.
That's amazing, and they are iPads, not the Chinese knockoffs.
Probably not.
Okay.
I mean, what prisoner is going to take that?
They might complain about the quality. All right, guys, that's our Daily Stupid, and that's the end of our episode. This has been the Seiji Bard podcast, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.